and we are live. What's going on, good people? It's your boy MJ Jackson back in the building. I know it's been a long time, and it's been at least since April. Had quite a few different things going on. Y'all keep me in your prayers. I'm still learning how to balance a school schedule, being married, and all that good stuff. Not an excuse, just a little bit of a learning curve. So what y'all been up to? Hopefully everybody's been safe, been enjoying their summer, been, having some good fun, learning, always learning. That's something that we all need to keep doing. But we're back at it. And I guess with this episode, we getting ready to start the first part of at least maybe a 3 to 4 part series on worldviews. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And I've had to sit down and just kind of sit at my desk and get focused and lay out the skeleton of what I wanted to do, but I just don't think that we can proceed any further until we, lay down some foundational work. And I'm not going to assume that my audience is familiar with what I'm saying, or not familiar. I'm pretty sure quite a few brilliant people in the audience that will understand what we're doing, but I think this will be helpful in critiquing other worldviews and giving a defense for the Christian faith as a whole. So we're talking about worldviews. So how would this apply to urban apologetics? Well, I guess once we understand that the Christian faith has to be defended in terms of total worldviews, we'll be better able to, to ask questions for clarification, to clear up any misunderstandings regarding the Christian worldview, and we'll also be able to find common ground with other people. And notice I didn't say neutral ground, but common ground. And from that common ground, we'll be able to see, which worldview can account for all of the facts that we know. Because you're going to come across a lot of people who say that they believe in God. A lot of people who say that they believe that the universe was created, but will go as far to deny that the so-called God they believe in can communicate, can act within his creation and things like that. And I submit to you that these are issues in terms of the flaws flowing from a jacked up worldview, so to speak. So, that's what we're getting ready to talk about today. What is a worldview? But, before we talk about what is a worldview, I think it's important to understand that each and every one of us has what's called a noetic structure. And the noetic structure of a person is, everything or every proposition that a person believes, and the logical relationships that are found within these beliefs. Sometimes a noetic structures is characterized by some of the ways that the beliefs are related. By the conviction of the firmness which we hold, certain beliefs within that structure. So it's basically the sum total of everything that a person believes. And within the noetic structure of mature rational people, can be found a smaller set of related beliefs that constitute each individual's worldview. So what is a worldview? Well, the quick definition is a worldview is a conceptual framework or a pattern or an arrangement of a person's beliefs, and it contains the person's answers to to the major questions of life. So yeah, everyone has a worldview, but few people understand what it is. And I guess our job as Christian apologists is just to help them out, help them understand, what a worldview is, But I just said something earlier. Most people have no idea what it is, or even if they have one. So when this happens, people like this are unlikely to know much about the specific content of their own worldview. Nonetheless, achieving greater awareness of our own worldview as Christians is one of the most important things that we can do. And when we do this, it'll help us learn to gain insights to the worldviews of others, and we can find out what makes it ticks. So, in apologetics, in urban apologetics, this will help us to do at least 3 things regarding, worldviews. So we'll help people gain a better understanding of their own worldview. Okay. We'll help them seek to improvement, and we'll help them seek a worldview that eliminates inconsistencies, fills in the gaps of information, and removes errors. So we'll help them adopt the worldview that can account for all of the facts of reality. So a worldview then is, it's a conceptual scheme that contains our fundamental beliefs. It's also the means by which we interpret and we judge and look at reality, right? So within a worldview, you get 5 important facts. I think these are 5 essential facts of a worldview. There could be more, but let's talk about these 5. So worldviews contain at least 5 clusters of beliefs. Okay. So I'm gonna use simple words. I'm probably use some technical words here, so y'all just bear with me. But you're gonna find that apologetics can become philosophical in nature. Nobody needs to be afraid of that. But it can. There can be some overlap. But these 5 cluster beliefs. So you got beliefs about God, and of course, they can also be said to be a theology. So every worldview has something to say about God. Every worldview has something to say about ultimate reality, metaphysics. Okay. And every worldview has something to say about epistemology, and that's knowledge. And then ethics and human nature. That could be that's your anthropology. So every worldview has something to say about that. Now, while worldviews may include other beliefs that need not be mentioned at this point, these 5 usually define the most important differences amongst conceptual schemes. So let's talk about God for a second. God is the most crucial element in any worldview, is what it has to say about God. Okay? the crucial element of any worldview is what it has to say about God. And in this sense, every worldview has a theology. Okay, I hope y'all caught this. Every worldview has a theology. Okay? You know, so many times that we be on the chat and you come across these atheists who love to play these semantic games. Oh, I just lack a belief in God, so I don't have any burden of proof. I'm just lacking. So you're telling me about your mental state? Is that what it is? I like the way Dr. Ronald Nash classified these type of people. He calls them atheologians because they kicking out so much knowledge about God. You're just not telling me about your lack of belief, but you're making claims, you're making assertions, you're trying to teach something. So, you know, every worldview has something to say about God. So some of the basic questions that differing worldviews seek to answer is, hey, the first question is, does God exist? Now, in any worldview, God is the ultimate. And I'm not going to get into it now, but I like Nancy Piercy's book on finding truth. And she goes through Romans 1 and demonstrates that all anti-Christian worldviews exchange God for something. So there is a God-like ultimate being within every worldview. So even if the worldview says that God does not exist, there's going to be something ultimate that is just there, that's at the beginning. Okay, so you know, you got atheism, and most atheists hold to naturalism or materialism, that material is all there is, that mind arises from material. And of course, we're Christian theists, so we believe in the necessary being known as God, the triune being. So we believe in the triune God. And then you have pantheism, in which all is God, and you have polytheism. So that is a question on what is the nature of God. What's God like? You know. Then you have other worldviews where evil is also in the nature of God. God is both good and evil. That's a logical contradiction. And those are some things that you got to look out for. But, you know, another question is this: is God personal? Is God a personal being that is the kind of being who we can know, love? Is God the kind of being that can know us? Can God love? Can God act? You know? Or is God some Star Wars like impersonal force? So, yeah. So every worldview will have something to say about God, i.e. a theology. But what's next? Every worldview will also have something to say about ultimate reality. Okay, and I told you this is also called metaphysics. So in terms of addressing ultimate reality, a worldview can attempt to answer questions about the relationship between God and the universe. One question is the universe a brute fact? As in, is it eternal? Does it have an explanation? Is the, you know, one thing I've heard abused is one of Einstein's law that energy is either energy is neither created nor destroyed. And that's an abuse of the law because we're running out of usable energy as we speak. So I would probably stop misusing that law of science, because most scientists will admit that the universe is not eternal, that it did have a finite beginning. So to say that energy is neither created nor destroyed to demonstrate the eternality of the universe is just false. It's ignorant and misguided. So, but some people believe it, and they'll use whatever they have to do to reinforce that belief. So another question is, how old is the universe? Is the material realm all there is? So, you got to watch when you talk to people, because they'll assume materialism or naturalism in their conversations with you. So, these are questions in regard to ultimate reality. So every worldview has something to say about ultimate reality. But a third category or component of a worldview is what's called epistemology, or a theory of knowledge. So the easiest way to illustrate this point is to ask people if knowledge of the world or knowledge about the world is possible, and how do we come to gain that knowledge. Some other questions that are important is, can we trust our senses? Because people are quick to assume that if you can't see it, touch it, smell it, taste it, or hear it, it ain't true. But we have these eyewitness statements by the apostles who have handled Jesus, and people will throw those out the window because they speak of something supernatural happening. But can we trust our senses, and what are the proper roles of reason and sense experience and knowledge? Do we apprehend our own states of consciousness in some way other than reason and sense experience? So is there a different way that we can apprehend these states of consciousness other than sense experience and reason? Okay. What about our intuitions of our own states of consciousness? Are they more dependable than our perceptions of the world outside of us? Okay, so do we really have knowledge of the world outside of us? Or are we just going through the motions in our head? I cannot wait. Somewhere, some way, I'm going to fit something in this series on a Christian epistemology somewhere. And I hope it don't bore you guys, but I think it'll be helpful. But, another question is truth relative, or must truth be the same for all rational beings? What's the relationship between religious faith and reason? Is the scientific method the only, or perhaps the best method of knowledge? Is knowledge about God possible? You got to ask people this right here, and this will get to it. Is knowledge about God possible? So, if so, how can we know God? Can God reveal himself to human beings? If God revealed himself to human beings, what language would he speak? Could God speak in such a way for human beings to, understand God? Okay? What about revelation? Can God reveal information to human beings? And what is the relationship between the mind of God and the human mind? So, those are some questions. But let's look at a fourth area of a worldview. So, we're talking about ethics or morality. Okay, and I think that for a lot of people, ethics is a real sensitive area in any worldview, because everybody has something to say about what's right and what's wrong in the world. You know, and more people seem to be aware of this more so than metaphysical and epistemological considerations in our everyday life. So, every day we can observe that all people make moral judgments about the conducts of others, and not only of other people, but of nations as well. So, you've been hearing a lot of talk in about slavery across seas, about wars. On what basis can people make these moral judgments? So, I guess a good question is, are there objective moral values and duties? Are there more absolutes? Do they apply to people and places? Do they apply to people in all places and times? Do they transcend time? Or is it more like a subjective preference? You know what I mean? So, was chattel slavery wrong? Was it truly wrong? So we're asking if it was truly wrong. Is there such thing as true right and wrong, objective right and wrong? I've had one dude in the chat group defend subjective morality, and how I see it, if morality is subjective, all you're doing is you have people coming and getting mad at other people for their subjective preferences. I just find that to be quite irrational, because you just said morality is subjective, so I don't have to do what you want me to do. I can do what I want to do. You know what I mean? So I just find it irrational if one person is mad at another person because they don't think like they do. But the truth of the matter is, morality is not subjective, because if you slap me, why am I mad at you? Well, I'm mad at you because something within me says you should have known that you shouldn't have done that. And now I got to get you. No, I'm just kidding. But, worldviews deal with these questions in terms of ethics. Okay? So, the last category I want to talk about here is human persons. The fifth part of a worldview is what it says about human beings. Do human beings have value? Or are we just a cosmic accident? Stardust. Who should care about stardust? And if human beings are just cosmic accidents, what was wrong with slavery? What's wrong with murder? What's wrong with any of these things? You know what I mean? Okay. Another question regarding human persons, and this could also be considered up under metaphysics as well, but what about freedom versus determinism? Do human beings have a type of freedom to choose to act or not to act? Do their choices originate within themselves, or are they determined in some type of way to do any given action? So, is determinism true? These are anthropological considerations. What about human consciousness? Do human beings have a center of consciousness normally that we would call a soul? Or just a meat sack, so to speak? So, these are some questions that every worldview has to deal with. So, over the last few weeks, I got a chance to go and do my little yearly checkups. I guess I've been married today. Tuesday, July the 2nd was my anniversary. I've been married for over a little bit of a year, and my wife made sure I went and got all of my checkups and things like that. So I found out that I needed to wear glasses, right? And it's like one of my eyes, how the doctor put it, was working harder than the other. So I'm getting older. I'm not a young buck anymore. I'm not old either, but I'm getting older, clearly. But so I got these glasses and I put them on, and at first I really couldn't notice the difference of how I was seeing. Like, I'm not wearing them right now, so but when I took them off, clearly something was wrong. It was almost that like my eyes had gotten used to seeing better, and when I took the glasses off, everything around it had like a fuzzy look, and I was like, well, did the glasses do this to my eyes, or what was up? No, my eyesight was really that bad. You know what I'm saying? And I just didn't know it. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that, worldviews function much like eyeglasses. The right eyeglasses can put the world in a clear focus, and the correct worldview can do something similar. When people look at the world through the wrong worldview, reality itself doesn't make sense to them. And when reality itself doesn't make sense, you'll see people with contradictory beliefs and things like that. So, putting on the right conceptual scheme, that is, viewing the world through the correct worldview lens, can have consequences for the rest of a person's thinking and acting. You know what I'm saying? So, in conclusion, whether we know it or not, whether we like it or not, each of us have a worldview. And I submit that these worldviews function as a lens or an interpretive conceptual scheme that gives explanation to how we see the world the way we do, and why we have the thinking that we do, and why we take the actions that we do. In the world that we live in, the various worldviews held by people do come into conflict. So, this can be seen in something as little as an argument. Maybe two people are having a discussion about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So, you got both people who say that they believe in God, they believe in creation. And one person is saying that miracles don't happen. So, immediately my question is, well, what type of God do you believe in that can create the world but yet can't act in the world? So that is a worldview issue. And then, of course, worldview issues can extend out to an all-out war between nations. So, hey, we all need the right lens. We all need help in our seeing. And I believe that there is only one worldview that can get the job done. And that's the Christian worldview. So, I hope y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. This has been another episode in the books. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.